Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this evening, I'm joined by Steve Ankerstar, who's an entrepreneur from Texas and a podcaster. And we're literally just meeting each other now after meeting on LinkedIn. So this is our first chat. And we're just going to sort of see what each other does and see if we can help each other, really. So how are you doing this evening, Stephen? You okay?
Well, I'm doing great, Mike, and thank you so much for having me on. I'm looking forward to our talk.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I say in this evening, for you, it's not the evening, I guess. It's lunchtime, isn't it?
Yeah, just after lunch here in Texas, and it's over 100 degrees, so it's kind of a warm day over here.
Oh, there we are. Then I can only wish and dream for days like that.
We have them all summer long, so.
Yeah, well, I think you do in Texas. Yeah, so I'm definitely in the more wetter part of the world. But there we are. Um,
Right.
the first place I like to start with people on my podcast is because obviously it's very topical. Is the lockdown really? So I just wanted to know how the lockdown's been for you, and if you've done any sort of pivoting in your business during that time.
Well, yeah, the lockdown obviously here in Texas, it affects us just as much as some of the other states in the U.S. that are having some issues. But as a investment manager, it actually helped me a little bit by being locked down into my house. I work out of my home anyway. But as far as being able to turn my home into a home studio, which is what you see behind me, because I knew I couldn't get out and meet with my clients, all of my stuff was going to have to now be over Zoom. So getting used to this new normal really wasn't that big for me. Now, the investment markets did take a large hit right after COVID-19, so my income was reduced. But since the markets, at least in the U.S., have largely come back, I've been able to come back from it and gained a few clients along the way.
Okay, good. Yeah. So the pivoting, have you done much in your business? Well, obviously you've changed the way you're speaking to clients and stuff. Have you done anything else online to
Yeah,
pivot?
yeah, you bet. The what I did for I'd always wanted to have a podcast. So this had been an idea that I'd been talking about honestly for 6 years since I went into business and investment management. And the difference was I never really had the time to do it, or I didn't make the time to do it. But until COVID rolled around, then I'm kind of stuck at home, and I wanted to be able to reach a larger audience now that I'm not going to go out and speak in public, which I had done at least once a month for the past 6 years. So now it's like, how do I get my message out to folks? So I started my podcast a couple months ago. It's called On Time on Target. It's free financial literacy for those that just can't get enough. And I formulated each of the episodes as a question. So when somebody would ask me questions like, how much money should I have at age 55? And instead of answering it to one person over and over and over, I turned it into an episode so I can send it out there and people can find it and see it.
Yeah, brilliant. That's similar to me and my podcast. So I put on there a lot of sort of information and education because I can't help I want to help as many people as I can on the planet, and I can't help them
Exactly.
all physically myself. If I record it and stick it out there in the world, in the universe, and if people need it, hopefully they'll find it.
That's right. And I think there's a social aspect. I've listened to some of your stuff and your stuff is really fun. And, when we can't get out and intermingle with each other, for those that are in your social network, I mean, just hearing your voice and online and things and on video, that keeps everybody going, helps everybody out through these challenging times.
Yeah, well, that again was one of the reasons I like helping people, and I thought at the beginning of lockdown, there's going to be a lot of people with mental health issues being stuck in the house. I wasn't one of them. I've actually thrived during this time. I've enjoyed creating, like you have, creating content and pivoting, and I like that variety and that
Right.
change. But lots of people don't. So I thought, well, if I create a positivity podcast as well and do a bit of morning motivation and whatever, and share a lot of the knowledge I gained from the personal development space, then I can help people through this time, whoever needs it. So yeah, that was part of why I did it as well. So tell us a little bit of the background to yourself before you went into your business. Tell us a little bit about that and your history.
Well, sure. Right out of college, even in high school, I saw a movie that back in the day was pretty popular called Top Gun. And once I saw the Top Gun movie, I said, I want to do that with the rest of my life. And my friends kind of laughed. My parents snickered and said, you better have a backup plan. And I said, no, actually, I do want to go fly fighters. And that's why you see some fighter aircraft above me here. And also, I'm still wearing a flight suit, even as an entrepreneur. So I was fortunate enough to be able to fly fighters for the U.S. For most part of my 20-year Air Force career. And then after that, I decided, okay, now I can finally get out and be the entrepreneur that I want to be, and started my own financial business for investment management. And then, of course, starting my own podcast is its own business too. So I finally got around to doing what I wanted to right out of college, but I had to go fly fighters first, which was a dream come true.
Yeah, it sounds like quite good fun, and it's something that resonates a little bit with me because my grandfather and my nan met in the RAF during World War
Nice.
II. So without the RAF or without fighter pilots, if you like, in the Air Force, I wouldn't be in existence.
Right, you bet. That's good.
Yeah, so yes, I would have liked to have done something a little bit more actiony myself. I was a good rugby player when I was a kid, which is a bit like American football.
Right.
And I wish I was a professional athlete, but I missed that boat and ended up in sales for a long time. And now, chasing, looking to become a global speaker, which is why I started the podcast as well. So yeah, that's sort of my history a bit, but it's great to know a little bit of your background. And
yeah, I tried rugby for a while too, and found I wasn't nearly as man enough as I thought I was. We played here in a league here in the States. I was around, I don't know, about 24, 25 years old, and thought I was tough. I was not. There were a lot more people tougher than I am out there, that's for sure. Played second row and for one season, and that was enough for that.
Oh, there we are. Well, I used to play number 8, I did, and I was tall and fast. So when I was a kid, I used to score a lot of tries, picking up at the back of the scrum and going down the blind side.
Yeah, you bet.
Attacking the winger, because the wingers always used to be little, so just run through the winger.
Right.
But yeah, so obviously then you did your stint in the Air Force and had paid your dues and did your duty, and then obviously when you come back, how was that then transitioning to the sort of entrepreneurial life?
Well, it was kind of interesting. I was 43 when I retired. I'm 50 now. And, you're kind of set in your ways. You get a little up there in a few years. So trying to pivot, if you will, and start new things was a little bit of a challenge. But fortunately, I had gotten all of my certifications and other requirements out of the way while I was on active duty. So I went right into the business and was able to work 60, 70 hours a week to kind of get everything stood up. So still had enough energy to put in those kind of numbers to make sure everything was successful. A lot of my friends that are also pilots went off to fly for the airlines. And most of them said, you should probably fly for the airlines first and then kind of do your investment management on the side. And I said, I hear you, but investment management doesn't work like that. It really needs to be a full-time job. So I decided to forego the airline industry and hop right into investment management, and turned out to be a great decision. It was a little thin there at times for money starting a business, but once I got it profitable, it's never looked back. So.
Yeah, and you had a load of airline pilots who needed to look after their money and get some good investments.
That's right. That was my first crew of clients, were my pilot buddies.
Yeah, it's always good to have a good. That's when you're the one doing something different than the rest. You can sort of go and target the rest and keep you busy for a while.
That's right.
So is it just investments you do, or is there other areas of finance that you're involved in?
I do two things. I do investment management, which is most of what I do. So managing people's portfolios for individuals and families. I also do financial planning, where I'll sit down with a couple or an individual or a couple and write a detailed financial plan. That tends to be kind of expensive for folks. So I don't do a whole lot of that, except for the folks that really need it, that are up into the, kind of multimillionaire type folks. But for folks like me, I would consider, upper middle class. Mostly it's just investment management, trying to get them up to that next level of the million or multi-million level.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So, is there something specific at the moment now? Now things are the market's going back, and is there something specific that you would advise people that they should be looking at right now, as a place to put their money?
Well, sure. Standard disclaimer applies that this is financial education, so you have to do your own due diligence before acting on anything you hear me say today. But with that out of the way, in the U.S., we have a big election coming up, so it's a very cautious stance as far as the folks that are exposed to the U.S. markets. However, as with any market, it doesn't matter what the overall market's doing. Some individual names will do very well. And really the big push out there that I would encourage everybody to get involved in somehow would be the electric vehicle thesis, if you will, that the electric vehicles are really going to take over as the primary means of travel in the future, with autopilot, auto driving, all the sort of things that come with it. And here in the States, Tesla has obviously led that charge. There's NIO, which is a Chinese firm that I'm familiar with. There's several battery firms, which are Plug Power and Blink, that are picking up sizable contracts across the world. So there's really some interesting names out in that space. So that's where I would, if folks are interested in doing their own research, kind of dig around in the electric vehicle area, and you'll find some names that are on fire. And I think they've got a lot more room to run as we make a shift.
I think also there's some innovative green companies as well, other ways of, getting energy from other sources than just traditional carbon methods.
Yes, you bet.
Yeah. So, and also I think another good one to look at and keep an eye on is maybe things like AI, and fintech and biotech and all the techs really, because technology is flying.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. The technology is really where I've had my money most of the time, and that includes before 2000. So I took the whole ride, basically, if you will, as a younger person. But technology, when you think of what it really does, is it's high margin, highly addictive, world-changing sort of thing. So why wouldn't you want to put your capital behind that? So I've always been heavy into tech because that's where you make a lot of money. One of my favorite investments is Apple. I treat it like a highly addictive product because it seems like those that are in the Apple ecosystem, that'd be the last thing they'd ever give up.
Yes, I have Apple mobile phones myself, and
sure.
Once you're an Apple mobile phone user, it's very rare for you to switch. I am
right.
I'm stuck into Apple,
Well, they really, for a technology firm, they really hit the target on making it a luxury item and making it look good and feel good and always work. Those things you just always want out of something. So yeah, people, once they go with Apple iPhones, yeah, I don't see anyone ever going back after that. They kind of got you at that point.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
They got me anyway, but yeah, so that's interesting. We covered the finance side of things. What about the podcasting then? How has that been to set up, and how long you've been doing it for, and how's it been going, really?
Well, like you, I like to talk in front of people, so it's kind of a natural mix. I would rather still be in front of a crowd that I can see the reactions and talk specifically to individuals and really making sure the message connects. But when you can't get out and do that, it's certainly the podcasting venue is perfect for being able to still take to the microphone, deliver your message, even though you're kind of delivering it into the blind. So I thought about doing that forever, like I said, like 6 years. And finally, part of the pivoting of COVID-19 was to get around to actually do it. So I'm 2 months in. I have 34 episodes now. So I've been kind of going every day, every other day.
So episodes, just you?
Well, I did. The first 10 episodes were just me. And the first episode is actually introducing myself. So I talk about some of the flying I did in combat and kind of getting all the flying stuff out of the way for folks that, when they hear I'm a pilot, they're just like, ooh, tell me a flying story, and we never get around to finance. So I did all that in episode 1. And then I did basically a monologue for the next 10 or 11 episodes. And then I did a financial thought leader series. So I went out and interviewed lifelong friends, basically folks I've known for a long time that were at the top of their game, either as an entrepreneur or as a banker or a spa owner or, magazine editor. There's several things that I wanted to talk to people, and I talk to them through the lens of finances. do they do it as a hobby, or are they able to, make their money like a magazine editor, and talk about what would they have to offer younger folks that would like to go into their shoes. So pretty much a goal setting, goal achievement, motivational piece. Did 10 episodes of that. And now I'm back to the monologue. So I plan on doing monologue for a while, and then I'll go through another interview series, I think, when I need to break up the action a little bit.
Yeah, good. Well, I ask people a lot about lockdown and about the pivoting that they do during the lockdown. And I'm thinking about trying to get a documentary put together for, what businesses have done during COVID to get by, because I think that would be a really good educational piece at the same time as being interesting and historical of the moment, if you like.
No, I agree. And one thing when I was putting out a lot of content for folks, and I was talking to people, and I have some clients that are small business owners, some of them that were in a lot of trouble pretty quick when they were forced to close. And it was all about how fast can you pivot? How fast can you reinvent? How fast can you try to get a line or two of business open to do whatever you can to survive? And these are people that really haven't had to think about a true survival aspect of their businesses, and all of a sudden they were thrown into that. And I think that's good, not only from from an educational piece, but to know that there's other people out there thinking about them and cheering them on and rooting for them as well. So it's good to get that positive message out to folks.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think at the end of the day, I've had a great time during lockdown, because I spent most of it speaking to other entrepreneurs who aren't the ones who've been, miserable and worried about this, that, and the other. They've been too busy, surviving and thriving, a lot of them, because of a lot of them were thinking about going online and doing stuff anyway. Most people had stuff like you did on the back burner waiting to happen. I wanted to write a book for a long time. I wrote the book as soon as lockdown comes. I just thought, well, I got lockdown. If I'm ever going to write a book, now's the time to do it. And it's the same as you went through your head is, if ever I'm going to podcast, now's the time to do it. We've all got the time. The traveling time, the commuting time, the getting ready, getting your suits ready, and all that is all gone, and you've just got all these extra hours in the day,
Yeah, and I think you're onto something with the idea of a documentary of kind of going through people's journeys and how they handled this. One thing I saw on YouTube that they're doing is they're having folks send in kind of a mini self-produced documentary where you say, here's 24 hours of my day. And if you reached out, I bet you would find folks that'd be willing to do that for you. And then you can take that content and turn it into a documentary based off of what folks send you. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. I actually contacted someone from BBC Wales, which is the BBC Wales business area, which is, I think, the people who'd be interested in it. And I'm waiting for them to get back to me now. So that was just an idea I had today. But I knew when I put the content out and I created it, there would be something to do with it down the line. Because I just thought, just put good content on, get entrepreneurs on, have a chat, and something will come from it down the line. Even if it's just becoming known, because I'm trying to become a global speaker. So, the more people who know me, the more opportunities going to come your way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great idea. And when people ask me about my podcast, they'll look at the episodes and say, hey, these are pretty interesting. You should put these together and put them into a book. And I say, well, thank you for noticing that, because it's actually, I laid out the first, 30 outside of the interviews that I did, the first 30 chapters as basically chapters of a book. So each time I do a podcast, I'm in effect narrating what I intend to say in the book and publish that once I get done with the 30th episode of narration, which will be next month sometime, and try to put that in a book myself. So.
Yeah, well, you can get a transcribe app where you can just get it all put into text version, and then you got your book then, haven't you? So that's a good idea.
I know myself pretty well, and I can talk, but I can't write for anything. So I'll get those transcripts, and then I'm gonna send it off to somebody and have somebody else make it look and sound correct.
Yeah, well, a little strategy for you, which I'm using, which may benefit you as well, is I've actually created a number of podcasts. And because I've got lots of different features within the one, I'm actually taking out certain features and sticking them into a separate podcast. Yeah. Right. So that podcast, so like all my entrepreneur chats are going to be in my entrepreneur chat podcast. And then the other one, which I think is going to be more popular, is I do Wolf of Wales, which is talking about sales.
Right.
So I have a separate Wolf of Wales podcast, you know.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then something else which I do as well is I do compilations.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So like, because I do lots of different features, and I can do like the first 10 morning motivation episodes, or I do, because my morning motivation is only like 2 minutes. So then I group them together as like, you know, the whole month's morning motivations or things like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I need to kind of watch what you're doing so I can get a little smarter about how I'm using my content and repurposing it. Those are a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, because I'm quite new to podcasting, but I'm 15 years blogger. So a lot of the strategies are the same strategies that I used to use for text, I now use for audio.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, you know, I'm currently doing 4 A to Z of series. The A to Z of marketing, the A to Z of networking, the A to Z of sales, and the A to Z of entrepreneurship. And I've won awards at all of those things. So it's the A to Z of, from an award-winning salesperson, marketeer, networker, etc. Like, you know.
Yeah, I like that. And I was flipping through your Facebook page and I saw that Wolf of Wales, and that one, I love that title. That's a great title.
Yeah, well, that's one of my favorite, because I've been in sales since I was 11, since I started being an entrepreneur and a bit of a wheeler and dealer at 11. And, you know, the Wolf of Wales, I thought, yeah, you know, it's got impact. It's got, you know, name recognition already, etc. Obviously because of the Wolf of Wall Street. Plus also, it's my favorite music because I use an Anchor app. And there's background music, so I don't use any of my own music or nothing. I just use what was already there, and I use it's like Straight Out of Crompton or something. The music for the Wolf of Wales. It's the best one because it's the music goes with the name and the topic and stuff. So I really like that one, like, you know. So it's really good.
That's great. And getting that stuff right is half the battle. You know, it's the name and how you title episodes and things that kind of get people to listen sometimes anyway. So yeah, Wolf of Wales, that's well done. I like it.
Yeah. And also, actually, my main podcast is called You Can Do It, which is motivational positivity. And actually, I wasn't going to call it You Can Do It. I was actually looking for, you know, when you set up your thing, it gives you like images, graphics to look for. And I wanted something pink, because pink stands out in the corporate world. So I wanted, because I'm in marketing, I wanted to do something that stands out, you know. But also because I thought it was going to help people with mental health and that. I wanted to be a bit softer than the sort of normal corporate colours. And I was scrolling through, looking for pink graphics, and I stumbled on one, and it had You Can Do It on it. So the universe chose my name and my podcast, not me.
Right. It was meant to be. And, you know, pink's kind of a tough color to deal with, but you're pulling it off there with the background there. So that's good.
Yeah. Well, you know, only real men can wear pink.
There you go.
You know, you got to have no doubts in, you know, no worries or nothing. Because if you got insecurities, you won't do it. Let's see. I've got no insecurities. I'll wear pink.
The Wolf of Wales in pink. I like it.
Yeah. I got 3 daughters, so I got used to the color pink, you know.
I have 2 daughters myself, so I'm the only male in the household, so I know what you mean.
Yeah, well, they say it takes a real man to keep making girls.
Yeah, well, it must be the case, right?
Yeah, definitely. So outside of obviously being an entrepreneur and doing the podcasting, what else do you like to do to have fun and to enjoy yourself?
Really, it's family oriented. My girls are both teenagers now, so you know, it's kind of cliche sometimes to say family oriented, but when I was in the military, I did not see my family a whole lot. They saw me sleep basically. So I would work 12 hours a day. I would come home and they would watch me eat and grumble and go to bed because I was so tired. But I was actually deployed over to the Middle East in Qatar. And I was on Skype one night with my youngest daughter, who was 4 or 5 at the time. And I just would watch her kind of play and I actually had time while I was deployed. So just kind of watching her play around in the room. And she said, you know, Dad, I don't even remember what you look like anymore. I was like, well, I think it's time to retire. So since coming home and since starting my business, which both of them I do from home, I'm able to spend a ton of time trying to make up for lost years with my little girls, who are now not so little anymore. My oldest is 5'10" and my youngest is 5'7". and they both play volleyball. So really, my hobby is to watch my kids play sports and travel all around and hang out with my wife and do family stuff. So it's really nice. We're wondering what we're going to do when they go off to college, because that right. You have to find some new hobbies.
Be dad taxi at the moment, then, isn't it? Your dad taxi, you know. and
right,
being girls, do they get you to do some dad dancing on the TikTok?
They try. I've been on a few TikToks, but I don't perform nearly as much as they want me to. So nothing I'm going to do is going to go viral on TikTok for sure.
No, fair enough. I myself, I use all platforms for social media, but I'm struggling to create content for TikTok because, as far as I can see it, I've either got to be able to do like somersaults or acrobats or parkour, which I used to do when I was a kid, but I'm not so good at doing that now. Or I got to do some crazy dancing.
Well, here you go. I've got two ideas for you that I came up with that my daughter's got a big kick out of, but there's no way I would do it. And the first one is TikTok in your tank top. So if you just wore like a white tank top, you could do about anything and you'd go viral. Yeah. And the second was TikTok in your tube socks. So basically same thing, put a pair of boxer shorts on, some long tube socks, and I bet you go viral. I look forward to seeing that later this week.
All right, I'll let that idea rest on my head for a while and see where it goes. But yeah, so obviously you're enjoying that. What about obviously all the things that are going on in America at the moment? What's your sort of thoughts on that? You know, all the Black Lives, everything.
It's not our finest hour for sure. There's several different schools of thoughts on how to deal with COVID-19 and the pandemic, and even in the states we're divided on that. So we have, some states opened up pretty quick, which are now paying the price for that with increased cases and increased deaths. And there are some that haven't. And we don't know the end of the movie. We just don't know who is going to be right or wrong, or if there is even a right or wrong. So we have that. And then we also have some racial tensions that have been kind of brought to the forefront again through a couple of unfortunate incidents. And we're kind of dealing with that as a country a little different than we have before. So I'm proud of that. But that's also pretty divisive as well. And so that's the number two thing we have going on. And then we have the election. And we have a president that is unique, to say the least. He's different and leaders of countries. And there is half the country that loves him and half that just absolutely despises him. And that's going to make for another ugly election. So I guess they're really never pretty, but we'll see. A lot of things are going down, and this has been a rough year kind of for everybody. So we'll see how it all works out.
You throw Kanye in the mix as well, and what's going on with him at the moment.
Well, and he did say, I remember it very clearly, because at the 2016 election, as soon as Trump got elected, Kanye was on the microphone somewhere saying that he was going to run in 2020. And then sure enough, he finally steps up right at the end. So it would be interesting if he actually got some traction as far as a viable candidate, with a decent following. That would really make the election interesting.
Yeah, well, it's fascinating looking on it from abroad,
I bet.
it's very interesting times. But it's a shame what's happened with the whole Black Lives movement, because it seems to be, from what I see on the news, it seems to be a lot of hassle constantly like now, and it's turned into a sort of protesters versus the police or the military or whatever Trump have put in there, and that seems to be a bit of a shame that it's turned into a sort of infighting between protesters and police and stuff. And I'm sure nobody set out for it to be that way, but I don't see where the end's coming. Like, it just seems to be dragging on,
and I think maybe it's something that it will not ever necessarily end, because I still think people of different color are going to end up in incidents to where it looks like one killed the other because of color, and maybe they did. Or can't get inside the human mind sometimes, but I think as a country, having the conversation and kind of going through this ugly period, I think we'll be better for it on the backside. While we're in it, it's pretty bad, and we have some cities that have basically defunded the police, and there's some stuff going on there that we would not normally think you would ever see again in the United States. But they're making their choices for what they think is best, and we'll see. But we're anxious for some resolution there, or at least a path towards a better United States from it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And obviously, you added podcasting to your business during this time, and you said you do a bit of speaking as well. What's the sort of plans longer term? What are you looking to build towards, or are you just going to keep building on what you're doing now, or anything else in the pipeline?
Well, I'm at the point in my business with investment management. It's just me. So I have myself and I have an administrative person. And as far as number of clients you can realistically handle is about 100, and be able to service them correctly and know everything about them. So I'm very close to being maxed out in investment management. So really my growth phase is now in podcasting, which I hope to turn that into some media appearances, CNBC, start local and then kind of move up in the media area. As far as getting out and speaking, maybe I kind of like doing it from my house, and I kind of like doing it where I can prep and put something of value out versus the whole, professional speaking where you have to travel and you spend a lot of time, gripping and grinning, and for the 30 minutes or 1 hour you have to kind of communicate. So we'll see. It's kind of an open-ended book. Interested to see how things will turn out, but certainly trying to get heard a little bit more through media.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I don't know whether me or you are in a better position from looking to become big as a speaker point of view, because in the UK and in Europe especially, I listen to quite a lot of personal development speakers and entrepreneur speakers and all that sort of thing, really. Motivational speakers, people like Les Brown and Brian Tracy and Grant Cardone, and all those sort of people, Robert Kiyosaki, Sharon Lecter, lots of them, and they all seem to be American or mostly American. And obviously, America's a big country and obviously big wealth and stuff. So I think a lot of those people get traction because of the size of America, and then they go global there. But my thought process is there's not enough UK people and not enough European people, considering, for example, UK people, there's plenty of us in Hollywood and lots of other places, loads of businesses, especially, UK, used to control 3/4 of the planet at one point with the empire and stuff. You know what I mean? And Brits are normally there or thereabouts with the Americans and, other Europeans, the Germans, the French, whatever. But in the speaking world, there's not so many. There's not so many around the UK and around Europe. So I'm thinking there's a gap in the market there. But for yourself as well, I don't know whether it's easier from an American point of view to work your way up sort of states and regions and then national. But it seems to be easier because all the people are from America. But I was just wondering, have you got plans for anything like that? Are you looking to become a European or a global speaker, somebody who speaks around the world, sort of thing?
Well, I don't know if I have aspirations to go to that level. I think I'll take it one step at a time. But it is interesting that you bring up, that I had not noticed that all those names pretty much are American that you talked about. And I'm trying to think of the famous European or British speakers. It's like I don't have a name that pops into my mind.
No,
I can think
Richard
of a lot
Branson
of.
Richard Branson is the only entrepreneur people think of in the UK, and he doesn't even live in the UK. He lives in British Virgin Islands, but
Right.
But he doesn't really speak so much. And other people know Lord Sugar as well. He doesn't really speak. I've actually I've heard Lord Sugar speak at an expo in Cardiff, in Wales, but he doesn't do them very often. But like you say, I watch lots of this stuff on YouTube all the time and listen to audiobooks and stuff. They don't even pop up. You know what I mean? It's one American after another. So, the Americans have cornered the market in speaking.
Yeah, I have to agree. I hadn't thought of that, but I do think there are a lot of folks to follow in their footsteps over here, and a lot of folks that are trying to get out and become speakers. And I think with that, you find that with so many people trying, the folks that do make it to the top of the anthill, if you will, are really good. So. And when you hear them speak, they just own the stage. So I don't know if I'll ever be that good to be able to go to that level, but I certainly am going to give it a shot, at least to get on some, TV, or if something happens in the market, if I can get on and add some value for 3 to 4 minutes of a debate, that'd be my kind of niche, if you will.
Yeah. Well, some of the people I like, Jim Rome, Obviously, he's gone now, but Tony Robbins, Jarek Robbins, his son, Brian Tracy, Mark Victor Hansen, you know, John DiMartini. These guys, though, they're all very well read and they're all very, very knowledgeable on their subject matter. So I think I can get there because I know what the magic formula is. And that's just to keep learning.
Right.
Keep learning, keep developing, keep improving. And also the other thing is massive action. So I'm a 10x thinker. I'm actually an infinity X thinker.
Well, I can see that in your work already. And the Wolf of Wales, I think to me, that's your ticket in. That's the catchy title that you kind of need to get your big break. So.
Well, hopefully it'll work for me. We'll see, but and hopefully it'll work for you too. And maybe in at some point we might share a stage together somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah, that'd be fun and trace it all back to today.
Yes, exactly. So I got the positive message in my background. You might not. I don't know if you will work it out or not because it's mirrored. But when it goes out live on video, it gets said. So you can do it.
All right. Very nice.
So, we can do it. So I'll leave you to it, though, because I know you've got a life to leave and, you've got to get on and do some stuff. So I'd just like to say thank you very much for coming on my podcast and for sharing some information about yourself and what you do and what's going on in the world at the moment in Texas. So, thanks very much for that.
Yeah, you bet, and enjoyed chatting with you. And best of luck on all your different endeavors to get yourself out there. And I found you almost immediately when I started looking around, so it's a good sign for you that you're doing the right things to get on my radar scope very quickly. So, good job so far. And I can say I know that I talked to the Wolf of Wales in the future. I like it.
Brilliant, and I spoke to the original Top Gun.
There you go. Very nice.
Right. All right, then. You have a great day, okay?
All right, Mike. Appreciate it.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, and that was Steve Ankerstar, former USA RAF pilot, or Air Force pilot, not RAF. That's the Royal Air Force in the UK. A former Air Force pilot, and now investment practitioner in Texas, USA. So check out his podcast and check out his business. I'll see if I can put some information, some links into the description for my YouTube channel and for my podcast episode. So that's pretty much it for me. There's nothing else left for me to say now other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening.